beautiful, because if you tolerate everything, you stand for nothing. And the problem with Christianity, it's based on this endless idea of forgiveness and tolerance, and that's been corrupted and polluted, like you said, by some bad actors.
Yeah.
And I feel like Christianity's lost a lot of its presence in recent times, and that breaks my heart. I'm a Muslim now, but that breaks my heart, because people of the book are people of the book, and we need more God, not less God. And I don't care what God you worship, if you worship God and you're a good person. And it's a shame, really, that Christianity's reached a point where it's mocked so openly and so publicly in Christian nations. That breaks my heart. And I think the attraction of Islam, for me personally, and also for a lot of other people now, is there's a lot of people who are just tired of being mocked. And they want a religion which they respect and other people respect. And you can disagree with Islam all you want, and whether you're an atheist or you're a Christian, and you can disagree with it all you want. And I'm not an Islamic scholar to argue that point. However, I will argue the point that it is the most respected religion on the planet. Nobody openly mocks it without fear. If they do, they at least make sure they're very careful about hiding their face or hiding behind a police barricade. Whereas people will mock Christianity openly and think it's a joke. And I feel like it's time for the Christians to take power back by ensuring that their religion is respected. I have some good friends in England who are particularly conservative, and they're upset by the changing demographics of the nation. And as I'm a mixed race American living in Romania who's reverted to Islam. So I'm a complete mongrel.
Yeah.
However, I grew up in England, and I do understand the innate culture of England, and I do understand why they feel threatened by all these outside people coming in, and I do understand how that's negatively affecting the crime rate, and I do agree with them that they want England to be British. Why shouldn't they? It's their nation. I completely respect it, and a lot of them are very anti-Islam, and I try and explain to them, I agree with you completely in your points of view. That may be confusing to you of why I can be a Muslim, but I can agree with the fact that you want to preserve the UK. But you're mad at Islam like it's Islam's fault, and it's not. It's a universal law. It's a law of the universe that power vacuums get filled. You can't, as Muslims, turn up to a strongly, truly Christian nation and just conquer the religious landscape if Christianity is being absolutely respected. Perhaps in America it's not so bad, but in Europe, people keep complaining about the spread of Islam. Well, where's Christianity? If you leave a complete power vacuum, what do you expect to happen? In America, you just name there's certain parts of it which are still Christian. You'll struggle to find very many Christian parts of Europe. We're here in Romania, which is one of the most Christian countries in the world, and Eastern Europe does have a degree of Christianity left. But in the West, there's no God at all besides Islam. You're either an atheist or you're a Muslim. And if I had to choose between the two, or if I had to choose which one I'd want my son to be, I'd choose for them to be Islamic. I often say this to people. I say, would you rather your son come home and say he's transgender or say he's a Muslim? Because we're getting to that point. If Christianity keeps failing, you're going to end up with a son that's either going to come home and be a liberal or come home and be a Muslim. Which one would you choose? I'd actually like to ask this to all the conservative Christians in America, and they'll say, Jesus is king. And I'll say, good, I respect that. But let's pretend for a thought experiment that I'm right, and that Christianity is little by little, like we talked about, inch by inch, giving up power and being decimated in real time. And at some point in the future, you have two choices: liberal insanity and transgenderism, or Islam. Which one would you choose? And I think most Christians would actually sit, if they answered honestly, and say, I'd rather them worship God. I'd rather Islam. So I love the fact that there's some religious conviction left in America. But I'm concerned about the fact that one of the primary goals of religion shouldn't only be the salvation of souls. It should be the sanctimoniousness, if that's a word, or the sanctimony of the society it presides over. It should be responsible for preserving the culture. Christianity should be responsible for preserving the culture of the USA. And in certain areas, it seems to be successful, but in many areas, it is failing. Whereas Islam, I feel like, is better at preserving the culture of the nations it subsides over. So if you measure the success of a religion, it's hard to say Islam's not a successful religion. Islamic nations are Islamic, and they feel Islamic. And it's hard to go against the Islamic norms and the Islamic thoughts in Islamic nations. Whereas in Christian nations now, I just feel like they're so publicly attacked. And that truly breaks my heart. My brother's a Christian. Him and I have very long debates about Islam versus Christianity, and we don't do it publicly because I don't want to start a fire, because I see Christians as my brothers. We're in the same team. But it really breaks my heart. It's upsetting. When I see these gay preachers and the Pope talking about same-sex marriage and how important transgenderism, that breaks my heart. And I'm not even Christian. I just think it's so sad that it's happening.
Yeah, it's weird when they embrace ideas that they're supposed to be so avidly against.
Yeah.
Right? That really throws a lot of people off. Do you ever consider that, because if we're in a war of good and evil, and that's really the force behind the world, right? There's good and there's evil.
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder that maybe everyone's worshiping the same God, we just call them different ways?
It's super interesting you said that, because yes, I do think, like, especially Christianity and Islam, I've read the Bible and I've read the Quran, and they're so much closer than people realize. People think that, especially traditional American Christians, as you just named, if you were to get the average Christian from Georgia in the countryside, he will see Islam as this far off Arabic religion.
Yeah.
It's for Middle Eastern people. Well, so is Christianity. It's from the same place. So they're from the same place. Only 20% of Muslims are Arabic anyway. There's huge Islamic nations which are Asian. There's Indonesia, Malaysia, there's huge Islamic nations. So they work hand in hand. And I feel like perhaps Christianity and Islam humans are fallible, and perhaps we don't completely understand what God is or the idea of God, and we're trying to find it in different ways. It's like saying a sentence in English or a sentence in German. You're saying the same thing, but you're saying them in different ways. I think the evil people, are they worshiping God? I'm not sure, because I think they're very openly Satanist. I actually believe they're worshiping Satan and they're against the idea of God.
There is a huge growing segment of actual vocal open Satanists now.
Yeah.
And that's really concerning. I've every like month or so, you go on X and you see what's trending, and it's like Satan. Like, why is Satan trending so damn often?
I know. It's scary. And these Satanists, I don't truly know what a Satanist worships, but I guess the idea is absolute free will and absolute hedonism and no respect or no obligation to my bloodline or my society or my duty to the people who I care about. I guess it's just a degree of innate selfishness. If you were to boil Satanism down, it's just about me, 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 me. And I think there's a whole bunch of ideas as well which promote this selfishness. I talk at length about depression and, well, let's take depression. I talk at length about depression and people get upset with my views on it. But I said depression involves a huge degree of narcissism and absolute selfishness. To sit there and go, I'm sad and I don't feel good and I don't feel happy. Like, you just sound me, 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 me. I'm so important. I should be happy. What about me? How do you be depressed without narcissism? And how do you be depressed without absolute selfishness? Bad things happen to you. Bad things happen to everyone. I'm not saying you don't have a hard life. I'm not saying you shouldn't be sad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying your obsession with how you feel and no obligation or no concern for the people around you or your duties or the things you need to do is why you feel the way you feel. I find it remarkable that some of these famous people kill themselves when they have kids.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to say this now. I don't care how much trouble I get in. If you're a man and you have children and you kill yourself, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You're a piece of shit. Don't care how sad you feel. You're going to abandon your children because you feel sad? Because you got a thought in your head, a feeling in your brain. You're going to abandon your kids and leave them fatherless? You're a piece of shit.
Cowardice.
You're a coward. And the fact that you will even do that shows the absolute narcissism these people operate under. That they feel like their feelings matter more than the upbringing of the children they birthed. It's insane to me. And if you actually have a sense of duty and a sense of purpose beyond yourself, it's very difficult to get depressed. It's very hard for an individual ant or an individual bee to be depressed if the beehive is functioning. I can't be depressed when I'm in a matrix attack and they're trying to destroy my life and they want me to be sad. I can't be, because I have children to pay for and I have a business to run and I have employees to pay and I have things to do. I don't have time for it because I have to think about something other than myself. So I don't think depression, and in fact, we'll go back to the original point I was going to make. Depression, along with Satanism, along with a lot of these ideas, along with even the LGBTQ crap, it's all about how I feel.
Yeah.
It's not about how does this affect other people. We talked about Mr. Beast earlier. None of these people sit there and go, I feel like changing gender. How will this affect all the children who watch me? How will this affect society? They're so selfish. They only care about themselves. So the Matrix is trying to push selfishness. It doesn't like us to look at the fellow human and see them as something akin to ourselves, because then we're going to be harder to psyop. They only want you to care about you and only you, which is why they push the divisions, right? It's why they push racism on purpose. It's why they push the division, the political parties on purpose. They push the divisions because if we unite and start to sit and say, wait, I care about what happens to other people because of my actions, not just what happens to me, that would be a far different society. So Satanism, I think it's being pushed for the same reasons a lot of things are being pushed. I think if I was in charge of the Matrix and I had to try my very best to control everybody, the first thing I'd want to do is split them up. I'd want everybody to be selfish and self-obsessed and have their little robot at home and their little pod and obsessed with their Apple TV thing on their eyes. Bro, I see that and it scares me. I see people in public with, what are the Apple Vision Pro?
Yeah. That thing is scary.
Bro, world's over.